Yes, Blue. Thank you. Well, we are super excited to be here today, and we promise that we will keep things interesting for you. So I'm going to start it off by talking about the top 4 things a mascot should never do. You have no choice. All right, the number 4 thing a mascot should never do, a mascot should never be mean to kids. Do you not want me to show them? You have no choice.
Come on, man. I mean, week 15, everybody's doing holiday shopping. Maybe they forgot to do a couple of things on the football field.
Yeah, man. The annual Vikings halftime mascot game. The Colts mascot Blue take the game. This is popcorn and cheers a little too soon. Hey, now, bullying now, there's a over the top. Now, Blue is serious about this. My boy, Blue, there's a personal target.
I'm glad I got that on video.
All right, moving on. The number 3 thing a mascot should never do, a mascot should never celebrate with opposing players.
I cracked my phone again. Yeah, let's go. There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go.
Alright, the number 2 thing a mascot should never do, a mascot should never ever talk.
Cause it's really creepy.
Alright, and the number 1 thing a mascot should never ever do, a mascot should never take off their mask in front of people.
You won't! You won't! You won't! You won't! You won't! Yeah, you won't! You won't! That makes a lot of sense.
All right, well, while Blue goes and changes, I'm going to show you all a short little highlight video.
Perfect. No way. Talk about dude perfect. I got all that on video.
All right, well, a couple things about Blue and the man behind the mask. His name is actually Trey Mock. And a few things about Trey. In 2003, he won a national championship for college mascots. Yeah. In 2006, he actually created Blue for the Indianapolis Colts. In 2016, he won the NFL Mascot of the Year award, and he actually won that this year as well. So please help me welcome the man behind the mask, Trey Monk.
Hey, how's everybody doing today? Well, thanks for having us. We're super excited to be here. My name is Trey. For the last 14 years, I've been the mascot for the Colts, and I'm here to talk to you today about my life as a mascot. So I'm going to take you all the way back from the beginning. I'm from Marietta, Georgia. I went to Auburn University. I went to Auburn because I wanted to be an architect. That's what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't want to be a mascot. I didn't know much about mascots. But when I went to Auburn, I met this guy. This is Albie. Albie's the mascot for Auburn University, and for the first time ever, I saw a mascot who was super athletic, hilarious, and to be honest with you, he was doing things that most people get arrested for, and I thought I have to try out to be this tiger. So my sophomore year, I was one of 3 students chosen to be Albie. And my favorite thing to do when I was a little kid was read Choose Your Own Adventure stories. Has anybody read a Choose Your Own Adventure story before? Awesome, okay, so this is the part of the show that you get to choose our next story. The story is going to be about my time at Auburn as Albie, but you get to choose between a story that's funny or a story that's gross. All right. This is what we're going to do. On the count of 3, I want to hear it for funny. 1, 2, 3. All right. Now on the count of 3, I want to hear it for gross. 1, 2, 3. All right, they won by a little bit, but we're going to go with gross. Okay, before I tell you this story, there's something you need to know, and it's about Albie. Specifically, it's about the Albie head. This head has been made for the same way for 40 years. It's made out of fiberglass. It's super hot. It's very dangerous to perform in, but the worst part about it is these 2 little cheeks, they form 2 pockets on the inside of the head. So all the sweat from your appearance collects in these 2 little cheeks. And after an appearance, you can take off the head and tilt it forward, and all that sweat comes pouring out. That's gross, right? But that's not our gross story. Our gross story happened on this day. It was one of my first football games as Albie. Now, what you don't know about this picture is that it's 105 degrees on the field this day. A mascot costume can get up to 40 degrees hotter than whatever temperature you're in. So it was getting up to 145 degrees that day. Now remember, there's 3 of us, there's 3 Albies. So we have about 8 pregame appearances, and then we divide the game up into 8 appearances. So we just rotate. But I landed on the last appearance that day. So I'd already been in costume for several hours, but I had the 4th quarter appearance. Now there's a box on the sideline of Auburn, just like this. The box is designed for Albie to get up on and pump up the crowd. And that's what I was doing in the 4th quarter. But the game ended in a tie. But my appearance is done. I look down to the other 2 Albies who are out of costume, and I make this motion, asking who wants to switch. Now, these 2 guys, it was their 2nd year. They were veterans. I was the rookie. And in the most veteran move possible, they looked up at me and said, "Nah, bro, we're good." Remember, it was 105 degrees on the field that day. We were all exhausted. But I was a rookie. I wanted to prove that I could do it. So I stayed in costume for overtime. But that overtime ended in a tie. So we were headed into overtime number 2. Again, I looked down and said, "Who wants to switch?" And again, "Nah, bro, it's all you." So I performed overtime number 2, which also ended in a tie. We went through 3 overtimes, and I had no help from these 2, but we did win the game. And there's a tradition when we win the game that Albie goes to the 50-yard line and waves the Auburn flag. And then a player grabs the flag and then marches it around in victory. So that happened, and my appearance is done. I am ready to get out of this costume. So I turn, and I have about 70 yards to make it to the tunnel. If I can make it to the tunnel, just around the tunnel is Albie's house, and I can finally take this costume off. So I start walking, make a beeline for that tunnel, but something happened on the 20-yard line. I was so dehydrated from the day that I threw up in costume. Do you remember how sweat collects in those 2 little pockets? Vomit also collects there. And every step it was swish, swish, and I would throw up again. Swish, swish, and I'd throw up for another 30, 40 yards. I don't make it to the Albie house, but I make it into a bathroom inside the tunnel. The problem is, I can't take the head off. Not because I don't want to, but because I can't. You see, Blue's hands, they're gloves. I can take them off whenever I want. Albie's hands are fur and they're sewn straight into the arms. My hands were so wet I couldn't grab the zipper to unzip the suit. And in Albie's suit, if you can't unzip the zipper, you can't unclip the head from underneath your arms. So here I am by myself, dressed like a pretend tiger, waiting for help. Finally, one of the two Albies finds me. He recognizes that I need help, but I can't tell him what's been going on, because we're not allowed to speak in costume even if it's with another Albie. It's a big rule in college. He recognizes I needed help, so he starts to help unzip the suit. I unclip the head, I take the head off, and then I projectile vomited all over him. Which he totally had coming. But those two veterans, even though they felt bad about that moment, they taught me everything it was to be a good mascot. They taught me how to be Auburn. And the number one rule you learn at Auburn, in order to be successful, you need to get two things. You need to get laughs and applause. If you can do that, you can be the most successful mascot in the world. And we were very successful. In 2003, we won a national championship for college mascots. My last year as Albie, I got recruited into the NFL by the Atlanta Falcons and was their mascot. And then went to the Buffalo Bills, and then in 2006, I created Blue for the Indianapolis Colts. When I say I created the character, I went through this tryout process. I got hired, but we didn't have a mascot. So my first job was to create the character. So I sketched it out. I flew to a production company and picked out the color of the fur, the shape of the head, the nose blowers that come out of Blue's face, put it all together, and this is the first picture I ever took with my best friend from Auburn. I came back to Indy with Blue, and again, in order to be successful, I just needed to get these two things. And we were very successful. The last 14 years, I've been able to do the coolest things in the world. I mean, the highlight video that you saw, that was all me. All the tricks and all the fun antics that we get to do. We've been to 2 Super Bowls, one that we won, one that we won't talk about. Been to 6 Pro Bowls. I've traveled all over the world. But no matter what I did, I would go skydiving and I would feel amazing about it. But I would wake up the next morning, I would feel empty. We would win a big award and I would feel great. Again, the next day I would wake up feeling empty. I would keep chasing these things over and over again. It made me feel good for a moment, but it was very fleeting. I could never find happiness for myself. And then in 2010, we had an appearance request. It was a Make-A-Wish appearance for Karen Rizzi. Now, we do about 350 appearances a year, and on this day, we already had 8 appearances scheduled. I didn't really think we had time for one more, but the person organizing it said, hey, don't worry, Karen just wants a picture of Blue, it'll take 5 minutes. And I said, oh, we can definitely make that happen. So that day arrives, I go down to the stadium, I hop in costume, and I come out of the tunnel, and I see this family. Immediately, I'm trying to figure out which one of these 2 little girls is Karen. And what I quickly realize is that Karen is the mom in this picture.
What?
See, Karen was battling cancer, and she chose her one wish to create the perfect day for her family. They were huge Colts fans, and she thought, man, if I can just get our family to the field, and we can laugh and dance and throw touchdown passes and take pictures, and it'll be an amazing day. And man, the icing on the cake, if Blue would come and take a picture with our family. Because every single time they would drive past the stadium, they would point and say, Mom, that's where Blue lives. So it was supposed to be 5 minutes of me taking a picture, turned into 2 hours of us laughing and dancing and throwing those touchdown passes and taking pictures. This is a picture from that day. 2 hours with this family, and there was not one moment of sadness. It was pure and absolute joy. Even though their family was going through a really hard circumstance, their mom was battling cancer, and they had nothing but joy. After the 2 hours they left the field, I waved goodbye, and I felt the most amazing feeling about that appearance in this family. But the thing is, I woke up the next day, it was still there. I still felt amazing. Thinking about this family, what we had done together, the time we had spent. And then I woke up the next day and still it was with me, and she's crying, what's going on? But the one thing that occurred to me was no matter what happens next, don't let go of this hug first. Hold her until she lets go of you, no matter what's going on. After a few moments, she was able to speak, and she said, hey, Blue, I know you don't know me. My name's Angie, but you do know my daughter, Karen. And a few months ago, you did an appearance for my family, and I just wanted to say thank you. And I also wanted to let you know that just